friends, it's Paul Ward here, and welcome to On the Road. We are visiting a piece of old California today in West Hills, and we are with the founder of Malibu Wines and Beer Garden, also the founder of Saddlerock Ranch in Malibu, Ronnie Semler. Welcome to On the Road.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And we want to thank our sponsor, Opus Escrow. So, Ronnie, you have quite the story to tell, quite the life history here, kind of in Malibu and kind of between here and Texas. You built quite the operation with Semler Wines, and it's just a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you.
So where are we specifically? We're kind of in an Alamo-style building.
Yeah, we're at Malibu Wines and Beer Garden, and this particular building has a lot of history. It was the home and the stables of a very famous silent movie star by the name of Francis Lederer. And he was a very handsome, debonair individual. And this goes back to, early 1900s and so forth. And he, of course, went on to do movies that were with sound, but his initial work was all silent. And this structure here, this building, was actually the stables that he built for his wife. His main home was across Sherman Way, which, of course, when the city came in and built that road, they divided it and took properties and did what they needed to do. But there's still the original home across the street, an actual beautiful old stone structure, and that was his estate. And this was the stables that where he kept the wife busy with her horses and had a really, really nice life.
And then fast forward several decades, it became an art gallery, and
Correct.
For a period in the 60s. And then when did you acquire it?
I acquired it probably around 10 years ago, okay? And the interesting part of it, we're right across the street or very close to West Hills Hospital. And one of my daughters, Ashley, was having her first child. And I, of course, after the birth and so forth, came to visit the baby and mom and really excited to see it. And as I pulled out of the hospital parking lot, I saw this beautiful building. And I said, oh, fantastic. What a great site. And I saw not a lot happening here. And in my rather snoopy ways, I went in, talked to the person that was operating the venue, and she was using it for weddings, and talked to her to find out who the owner was. She was ready to throw in her hat and give up. And so she introduced me to the owner. Wonderful person, one of my best friends today. And I decided that we wanted to buy this property because the idea was to create something, which we've done, a wine and beer garden, and been very successful. Lots of people come, have great times here.
And you're not just selling other folks' wine. You're your own vintner. You're growing your own wines in Malibu.
Right. Yeah. We only sell our wines. We sell basically two wines of ours, our estate-grown wines, which are the Saddlerock estate, and those are sometimes referred to as the Semler wines. And the other wines that we're selling are the Saddlerock wines, and those are wines that we call them our purchased wines, whether we either buy the grapes or we buy the juice elsewhere, all within the state of California, and then we make the wine from it.
And which varieties are you making?
We're making, in the estate, we grow Cabernet Sauvignon, we grow a Viognier, a Sauvignon Blanc, a Malbec, a Merlot, a Grenache, a Mourvedre, and we make some rosés out of different red wines. And those are the estate wines. As far as the purchased wines or the wines that we buy the grapes and or the juice, we also have a Cab and a Merlot and a Chardonnay. We have Pinot Noir. We have a Pinot Blanc. We have the list goes on.
Are those all grown at Saddlerock Ranch?
No, only the estate ones are grown in Saddle. The first group that I shared with you are grown in Saddlerock. The others are grown in other California or vineyards, and we acquire the grapes or we acquire the juice after they've already crushed it.
Gotcha. And Saddlerock Ranch itself has quite the history. You built it up over time. It was how did that start?
Coincidentally, and in some ways sadly, but also to our benefit, there was a big fire in 1978 that went through the hills of Malibu. And I was looking for a piece of property for our family. At that time, it was my 3 children. I was a single parent at the time. And my oldest daughter was very involved in horses. So I was looking for ranches. Property, Saddlerock at the time, consisted of about 300 acres. And it was a horse ranch. It had burned in the fire. It was part of the original Harvey Mudd estate. Harvey Mudd was a philanthropist out in the Inland Empire and started the Harvey Mudd College of Engineering and other schools. And his family had that for 40, 50 years. They had just sold it to another family called the Vandermeers. They lost everything that they had, the house and their barns and everything. And when we saw it, it was nothing more than a burned piece of property with all the rubble and residue from the fire. But we had a great vision for it. And over the years, we added to it and continued to acquire contiguous parcels until we ended up with approximately 1,000 acres. And we built it into a wonderful, wonderful home for ourselves and my family of 9 children and my wife. And we did a lot of fun things. We started off in the horse boarding business. We raised a lot of exotic animals ourselves. We went from hosting weddings and other charitable events, and we continued to grow. And it was really a wonderful place. Eventually, in the, I guess it was the mid to late 80s, I can tell you a great story. This is interesting. We grew avocados, and I planted avocados on that first 300 acres when I first acquired it. In 1992, we had a very cold freeze, and the temperatures dropped down to below, 30 degrees. Yeah.
Were these in canyons and kind of in high country, low country, kind of varied topography?
Yes, it was. And we lost about 1 million pounds of fruit on the trees.
Wow.
And we then really lost many of the trees as well. And it took them some time to get back to it. So that was 92. A few years later, we decided this is not the industry from a farming point of view that belongs on this piece of property. So we knew nothing about grapes, but we studied it very, very diligently and learned that couple little things like grapes use 1/7 the amount of water that avocados do.
Right.
And there are a lot of options we could do with growing grapes. We could grow the grapes and sell the grapes. We could make juice, sell the juice. We could take that juice, bake the wines, sell it as bulk wines, or we sell it as private label. And then, of course, ultimately we could put our name on it and have our own estate grown wines. And that's what we chose to do. And it's just been great and a wonderful, fun business. And really, we get it from the ground up when we planted those grapes. And
So did you start the tasting at the ranch?
we did. Initially, we, like every other small winery or small vineyard, goes out and tries to sell their wines, and it's a hugely competitive business. So we thought that the best way for us to probably market and sell it was see if we could set up a small tasting room. We took a piece of property that belonged to us across the street, and a portion of it belonged to our neighbors, and we worked out a rental deal with them. And we opened our first tasting room, which was called Malibu Wines. And I remember going there and meeting the young French little gal who was working for us. Very sweet, very charming, new wine. And how did we do? And she goes, oh, we did really well today. We sold $100 worth. And I go, oh, that's great, because we could afford to pay you. And that was the most important thing. But that was the beginning of it. And it grew to be a very successful venue where we, had a weekend. It would not be uncommon on a Saturday, Sunday to have 2,000 or 3,000 people.
Oh, wow. That's a good turnout.
It was a great, great venue.
And you mentioned exotic animals. You had other things going on besides wine that most tasting rooms didn't have.
Right. Well, the tasting room was kind of a separate venue, but across the street where the main ranch was, because we collected exotics and raised them.
Cats or zebras or everything?
We had zebras, we had water buffalo, we had bison, American bison, which are beautiful buffaloes. We had all kinds of alpacas and llamas and smaller animals. And then later in our effort to collect the animals, I did acquire a giraffe. I acquired a very famous giraffe named Stanley, who was a movie star. And he was in a lot of movies and commercials. And one of his fame to claim was that he was the giraffe in the film Hangover 3,
Okay.
where they went under the bridge and he lost his head. He became a very controversial giraffe after our fire, and it's a whole story in itself.
So speaking of the fire, the Woolsey Fire came through in 2017, 2018.
2018, November the 9th, 2018, the Woolsey Fire came through that entire area. And one of the things that we did starting in the afternoon before the fire on the 8th, we implemented our evacuation plan for all of our animals because we had 150 plus large animals, boarded horses, and then all of our own animals. And we moved them into a particular pasture that had nothing to burn. It was no feed. And we didn't lose an animal. I'm very proud of that. And we worked almost all night moving. And the animals are very sensitive. They sense something's happening.
Right.
But we moved them. We got them into that safe pasture. And while we lost everything we owned on that property, more than 100 structures, our main home, our offices, we didn't lose one animal. And we can replace all the other stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And so speaking of replacing, how was it after? I mean, now, of course, we had the tragedy of the Palisades just recently, and it's just devastating. But having gone through that, you've replanted the grapes.
We did replant the grapes. That's an agricultural effort, and we're able to do that. And I'm very sad to say that of those 100 structures that were on that property, we haven't built any back. And history kind of repeats itself, sadly, because my son and his wife, who lived in the Palisades, lost their home in this last fire. So it was very much deja vu and very tragic and sad. And we hope there's a path for us to get through all of this bureaucracy to be able to rebuild the ranch.
Right.
Because it was a wonderful place and offered so many things to so many people.
Right.
We shared it with a lot.
Right. And in the meantime, life does go forward and you're not slowing down, and you have 9 children and you've branched out to Texas and you've got wine tasting and going on in other places.
Correct. Yeah, we do have 9 wonderful kids, and we also have 11 beautiful grandchildren. And that's really what our priorities are and what's important to us. And also ended up buying a beautiful ranch in Texas. And we actually transported every one of our exotics. And we have, today, just a beautiful, beautiful property with magnificent animals. Acquired many more African animals there.
And can folks come? I mean, come and taste wine and beer and visit the animals?
Not yet.
Okay.
But we will schedule to open our safari business on that ranch in Brock, Texas, in probably June or July of this year.
Oh, really? So it's just right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
So about the time this video airs, you'll be opening your doors.
Yeah. Right.
Awesome. And where's that located?
It's Brock, Texas, which is probably 30 minutes to the west of Fort Worth, Texas. And it's also next to another famous town in Texas called Weatherford, which is the cutting horse capital of the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Know it. So back to the wine growing. What goes into good grapes that make good wine?
My opinion is, in order to have good wine, you have to start with good grapes. And the key to having good grapes is so important as to what you do and how you grow them. Obviously, you have to have good soil. So that's not to us, that's up to God. Or Mother Nature, okay? Mother Nature, okay? So if you have that good soil, then of course you test that soil before you decide to plant. And then how you take care of them is critical, okay? What you do from every step of weed control and seeing that they're getting the proper nutrients and adequate waters, and understanding every aspect of it, knowing that you irrigate your grapes at the top of the hill. The ones at the bottom are going to get more water because it's going to run downhill. So there are a lot of little things like that that can all affect the quality of the grapes that you create. And if you are able to create some wonderful grapes, which thank goodness we have been able to, you can make some great wines, great wines.
And how many acres have you replanted at the Malibu location?
Originally, there was 70 acres, okay? A substantial portion of those were burned in the fire. We replanted. We maybe had 10 acres that were saved from the fire. We planted another 40. So we're at a level of about 50 acres or 50,000 vines today.
Oh, wow. Okay. And all of that then comes here into your other tasting locations.
Correct. Ultimately, when it's in the bottle, that's where it goes. Now here and in Fort Worth.
Are your 9 children, are any involved in the wine business?
Yes, 2 of them are. 2 of my daughters are involved in the wine business. My daughter Madison actually moved to Texas even before we were there. She and her boyfriend, now her fiance, and actually they're going to be getting married in October of this year. She's very much involved in the wine business and really helped me tremendously with the development of that tasting room, from the construction and the licensing and everything else. My other daughter that's there now, she just recently moved there. That's Ronnie. Madison was the first young lady I was talking about. Ronnie has moved there recently, and she has taken over the position of assistant manager to the manager there, as well as heading up the wine club for the Texas facility. And she did a great job when she was here. We're very much involved. She was managing this facility.
And I did read that there's other activities here besides wine tasting. You've got candle making and jewelry and pizza and
yes, we have
other activities.
Wonderful things from yoga to pizza to jewelry and candles, and really good fun stuff that people can do as they sip. And it's a fun thing. People love it. And our current manager, Devin Freeman, has done a wonderful job in implementing all this program and running the show here. And she's doing a great job.
I never knew yoga and wine mixed, but I think I like that idea.
Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Is the public coming back to the ranch?
At this point in time, we are doing a business of one of my sons, Shane, where he has wine hikes.
Any challenges that you overcame, like anything like adversity that you didn't think something was going to happen, and then like things all kind of fell together?
That's been my life.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty unique that you did build a ranch of 1,000 acres in the Santa Monica Mountains. I mean, that's, the second biggest metropolis in the United States. You were growing on 1,000 acres.
That's right. I was, and I still have the ranch. And when I come here, that's where we stay. I have a temporary mobile home structure it's beautiful to stay in. But I'm not able to do the things that I really wanted to do and have been doing. And for whether I was legislated out of the ability to do that, I can't do them. And I want to comply with whatever the rules are.
Sure.
We've asked for a particular approvals to get back to doing weddings and events. We do movie locations, what they have permitted us to do and come back and do. I'm not sure why they agreed to allow us to do that. I'm thankful that they do. And we'd love to build the ranch back. And
so much history there. I mean, just,
oh yeah,
That's
very good. There is some other history about the ranch that I can share it with you. It has an archaeological site on it where there are cave paintings of the Chumash Indians.
Oh, wow.
And they're one of the most significant paintings in all of the Santa Monicas and going up to Santa Barbara and up to the Channel Islands, because that's where the Chumash Indians lived.
Right.
And when I first acquired the ranch, I reached out to UCLA, the Department of Archaeology. There was a professor and a doctor by the name of Brian Dillon, and Dr. Dillon, and he, along with another gentleman who wrote a beautiful book on the Chumash Indians, the painting, came. They did an archaeological dig with one of their graduate archaeology classes, and they found all kinds of interesting Chumash artifacts, which I, of course, gave to UCLA. And so that in itself is just a historic, natural thing that we have on that property that I've shared with everybody, only with supervision, because I don't want anybody to, sure, but we make it available to anybody. We had hundreds of school groups that have come up that were studying Indians at that level of their elementary school. Brought them up always to share those things with them. But we love sharing. We love giving. We love to be with all of our friends and neighbors. And it was a shame, the fire first, but then the county second.
Well, hopefully you bounce back, and of course you've got your ventures in Texas to.
I'm going to try. I am absolutely going to try. Texas makes life a lot easier. They're far less regulated. They're far more reasonable.
Yep. I have heard that.
Yeah. And it's a different way of life.
So how can folks find this place? Do you guys have a Facebook website?
We have a website, and it's MalibuWines.com. And we're open 7 days a week. Okay. And you can find us online, and we welcome everybody to come and join us here. Great day, great afternoon, great fun. And you're really in the middle of the valley, few minutes from Calabasas. It's very, very easy to find.
And if you want to, do candle making or yoga, then you got to look at the calendar.
Otherwise, we'll get on our email list, and you'll get notification of all the things that are going on. We do a lot of fun stuff there.
Well, Ronnie Semler, thank you so much for being our guest on the road.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much for asking.
Absolutely. We've loved learning about you and your life and your family and your wine operation.
Come see us in Texas.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'd love to share what we're doing there.
Thank you for joining us on the road. We want to thank our sponsor, Opus Escrow, and be sure to tune in next time.